me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls.
Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no-spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ella.
Ella, what is the best thing about being Smith?
The great thing about being me is that there are so many me's.
But what's the most wonderful thing about Tiggers?
It's that Tiggers, it's that there's only one. It's the opposite.
So, if we were to categorize our podcast as a Smith or a Tigger,
Somewhere in between, I suppose.
in what regard?
Because I wouldn't say there's as many of us as there are Agent Smiths in the Matrix trilogy.
No, you can't say trilogy! You can't say trilogy anymore, Ella!
Well, no, I never could say trilogy. I couldn't say trilogy since 2003 because of the Animatrix.
Oh, I overall just can't say trilogy. Trinity
is her name.
Trinity. Okay, yeah, that's her name.
Anyway, we just made this podcast completely inaccessible. But we're not like Tiggers because there is more than one Gravity Falls podcast out there right now.
Oh, but they're not like doing like a no spoiler rewatch thing, are they?
No, it's not exactly the same premise. I mean, you were leading me to say that yes, they are doing a no spoiler rewatch. I interpreted that question the wrong way.
That's all right. You want to take it again?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the question? You ask it this time. That'll be nice and confusing.
Well, but they're not like doing a no spoiler rewatch, are they?
I think they are.
Ah.
That's going to make no sense. I'm going to edit that in the most confusing possible way. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
They're not
doing
like a no
spoiler
rewatch thing, are they?
they?
So, yes, we are, of course, speaking of Into the Falls, a Gravity Falls podcast. We actually have kidnapped one of their hosts, and now they're one of our hosts for today.
That's right. Will you please hold up a copy of today's newspaper so everyone knows?
Please welcome Mary McKeon!
Yay! I'm in a burlap sack.
Okay, well, let's actually, no, that's good soundproofing. Let's keep you in there. But welcome. Good to have you.
Good to be here.
Tell us about your show and tell us about your history with Gravity Falls.
All right, so my show is called Into the Falls, as you guys said, and it's where I take my friend AJ through every episode of Gravity Falls because he's never seen it.
What?
Yeah, I know. I could not believe it when he told me. But we're coming at it from two different perspectives, kind of opposite perspectives, because I watched it pretty much from the beginning, and he just went almost a decade without ever seeing an episode just because he just never felt like watching it.
Oh boy, I know that the reason we're doing this podcast is because it's been almost a decade, but even still, that turns me into Tim Allen's Santa Claus. I magically grow a white beard.
It's so weird to think about because then it's like, okay, then it's 10 years since Welcome to Night Vale, 10 years since The Most Popular Girls in Schools, 10 years since Brave, almost 10 years since the first Wreck-It Ralph.
No.
Almost 10 years since Pitch Perfect.
Don't like that.
So what's fascinating about all of this to me is I was a legal adult when Gravity Falls started airing. I was 19. I'm still a legal adult.
I thought you were going to say you're still 19.
I'm still 19. I don't know how I did it.
Well, you did it.
I got trapped in a time loop.
Yeah.
Yet I somehow got every episode of Gravity Falls.
It's a great time loop. To me, it feels like barely any time has passed. I, right now, am working as a full-time YouTuber, and at the time that I first watched the show, I started watching it because I needed a pick-me-up while recording a Let's Play. And Mary, you have watched a lot of me and Ella's videos before we spoke, haven't you?
Yeah, I watched Real Time Fandub, like, right after you guys did the first Gravity Falls one, where it was, like, for the 4th anniversary. Because I remember it being really soon after the finale aired. Like, only a few months later, maybe.
Yeah, it was, like, in June of 2016.
Yeah. I was in the same boat as a lot of people who saw it and were just like, okay, so they're just gonna, like, do the episodes again, but with their own voices, and then it's just like... I don't know how to describe it, just this fucking wild, like, I don't know. We're gonna form Voltron, Leaf Dance, Weakness Unknown. I'm gonna try to come up with a bunch of quotes right now. I just remember one from when you were, like, between episodes and you were talking about, like, when Mabel cries, everybody cries. And someone's like, what about when little Gideon cries? And someone's like, no one gives a shit.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either, but that sounds like something we would do.
Are we ready to hop into it?
I think so.
The episode we're talking about today, The Hand That Rocks the Mabel, Season 1, Episode 4, premiered on July 6th of 2012.
We're coming up on the anniversary.
Coming up on the anniversary of this very episode at the time of this recording. This is July 3rd that we are recording. So let's go.
Are you completely miserable? Yes! Then you need to meet Gideon. He's a psychic. So don't waste your time with other so-called men of mystery. Learn about tomorrow tonight at Gideon's Tent of Telepathy. Void where prohibited, no CODs accepted. Carl, I've always loved you, but I've never had the guts to say it.
So we just watched The Hand That Rocks the Mabel. And that was a really good episode again. I keep forgetting how great these early episodes are. They're really friggin' good.
Mary, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was great. It was very funny. It holds up very well, as pretty much the entire show does. I found myself being much more viscerally disgusted by Gideon this time around, now that I've had some more life experience. And I've met people like this.
This is the introductory episode to the character Lil Gideon.
I think you mean Gideon.
Gideon, as Toby Determined says.
Lil Gideon. So when Alex was developing this show, his mother sent him a postcard of Larry Larrymore.
Yeah, Larry Hal Larimore is a child preacher.
Still?
Well, now he's probably just an adult preacher, presumably, but
Or an adult who's like, I can't believe I did that.
Or he's dead.
He's dead.
I don't know.
This episode is in loving memory of Larry Larrymore, the child preacher. But yes, Alex's mom sent him a postcard that she found a postcard of Larry Larrymore somehow, I guess. And on the back, all the text said was something for your show?
Question mark. We should put a link to the image in the podcast description. It's a fantastic image. I beg you to look at it.
Wait, Ella, we have an Instagram. If we talk about images,
we can put it on an Instagram. That's true.
You can put it on an internet.
So,
whoa.
So if you need that image, it'll be out there on. We call it the internet. But anyway,
yeah, that's the working name for it. We'll probably change it.
It's a little thing that I invented.
Yeah. Mary's been working on that for us behind the scenes.
I still haven't gotten any paychecks for it. I'm waiting for it in the mail.
So we have the character Lil Gideon, who is sort of this evangelist, child psychic character that appears in Gravity Falls. And this episode is just about discovering what his deal is. And
he is voiced beautifully by Thurup Van Orman, who is the showrunner of Flapjack, which Alex's first ever job was as a storyboard artist on Flapjack.
Yeah, that was over at Cartoon Network, and he talks about like how he would just overhear this like angelic baby voice like from outside of the room, and it would be Thurup, and never really forgot about that voice. And
it is such a... So Thurup never intended to become an actor. The role of Flapjack was meant for Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, and I think he just didn't show up to the recording session, and Thurup recorded a temp track. But yeah, his voice, I've never heard anything like his voice in my life.
They went to get the rest of their gang. I bet they're looking for me right now. They liked how I play ball.
The Flapjack voice is not even that far off from his actual voice. He's this large man with a large beard, and he has a voice that is basically just Gideon's voice without the accent. But the accent, Gideon has this very distinct Southern accent.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a gift to have you here tonight. Such a gift.
And that's an impression of Khaki Jones, who is an executive at Disney, I believe previously at Cartoon Network, that Alex knew.
Yeah, so they knew her from Cartoon Network because of Flapjack, and Alex says, hey, can you do Khaki?
Yeah. And if there's a clip, we'll have a clip.
I'm going to find a clip of Khaki Jones, I promise.
Khaki, what were the notes you gave us on when you first saw the pilot and we gave it to you?
I don't think I had that many, did I? I just loved it.
No, you didn't. You had notes, surely.
No, I think I was really smart, and I think what I said is this is perfect as it is.
Which is why you're vice president today.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Thurup is not a trained performer. He is an artist primarily. There were a lot of moments where Alex would say, why don't you just ad-lib a little on this one? And he would just read the line again, and Alex would go, okay, that's fine, we're moving on.
I can't imagine Gideon without Thurup's voice. I think it makes the I love he's a villain character. It's not a spoiler to say that he's a villain character.
He's a what?
Yes, something is up with this guy from the start, and Dipper and Mabel are suspicious of him, and he's the character that you love to hate because he's a little baby, like he's a child. He's like 9 years old, but like you love to hate him. He's such a gross little man.
Do you want to talk about how visceral he made you feel in this episode, Mary?
Yeah, so in case anyone doesn't know, which I hope everyone knows, I am a lesbian.
You just got to say that in every podcast episode you're ever in.
It's part of your title, right? Podcaster, writer, lesbian.
It's actually, it's my legal last name. McKeon is something I made up.
McKeon in quotes.
Mary McKeon, I'm a lesbian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have had occasionally men express interest in me. They usually don't go about it in a very healthy way. So it's like, even if I did like men, I would not like you. Mm-hmm. I've had a guy, he got to thinking that I was staring at him. So he thought that meant I liked him.
Oh, that's not a leap in logic at all.
Yeah, and he had a girlfriend at the time, so I was like,
even
maybe
better.
let's not do this for a couple of reasons.
Mm-hmm, several.
But I did tell him pretty flat out, like, this is not how you go about this.
Yeah.
When you like somebody. Like, you kind of just projected onto me and expected me to feel the same way. And I gotta put my foot down.
So the character that's conflicting with is Mabel, who is used to being as nice to everyone as possible.
Yes. And I love it encapsulated the creepy, like, love to hate this character because it's disgusting. Like, but he's also just like it's I would describe it as something that is gross, and yet I constantly seek it out because I love watching this character. Like, I know it's gonna be gross, but I watch it anyway. Like, when he's first talking with Mabel, like, hinting that he wants to go out with her, not so subtly, he's reaching out to touch her hair, and Thurup makes this sound that's like...
Well, Gideon,
Oh, God.
It's awful, but I love it, but I hate it.
It's so terrible. And, like, from Mabel's perspective, he is just trying to be nice. And she is so used...
She believes in people so much. She has faith in people. Yeah.
She wants to think that he has good intentions, and she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. Mm-hmm. But this is one of those things where, like, the nicer you are to someone, the more it will actively go against what you want to happen.
And then there's the fact that he's like a celebrity in the town. He's like the biggest name in town. Stan is incredibly jealous of him, which is hilarious. This old man having a vendetta against a literal baby child is fantastic.
The only moment we see from the beginning when he says, like, ever since he got into town, I've had nothing but trouble, it's just that he took a parking space. I like to think that until that point, that's the only interaction.
In my memory, it was always a montage. I always thought it was like a montage of moments. It's one moment that Stan hates Gideon.
Yeah, I like to think that is the only interaction
that's the only thing he
far.
really did. Yeah. Had the perfect parking space.
Stan is an expert at holding a grudge.
He's very good at it. Yes. But I was going to say about him being a celebrity in the town is that he uses that, like, as part of his manipulation of Mabel. Like, he deliberately makes their going out a public spectacle so that people are invested in whether or not Mabel says yes or no to another date and so on. Which is despicable.
That could even speak to, like, in real life, people shipping public figures who are just real people.
Yeah.
And it being like, guys, stop. No.
What I love is Seuss's ship name, Megid Bellion.
Megid Bellion.
I always read that as they don't want the fans to ship this, But if they do, if they're that horrible of people that they need to, we're going to pick the ship name and make it hard for them to say.
We're going to give them a terrible ship name just to persuade them to not...
That's the exchange.
Yeah.
If you're going to ship this, you're going to do it on our terms.
They managed to make Gideon absolutely despicable and absolutely hilarious. I don't know how they did it, and I think Thurup is, like, the central piece. I feel like if he wasn't there, it would fall apart completely.
And I just really appreciate this plot line because in pretty much every show that has ever existed, there's this expectation that if a male character likes a female character in that way, like, she has to eventually reciprocate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she has to. Because that's what the narrative dictates.
I don't know if I had seen this particular story in children's media before of, like, you know, how to healthily reject someone and...
We are first introduced to Gideon through the commercial break of the program Tiger Fist.
That's
which
my favorite
I love that
show.
we're getting this trend of more, kind of like on The Simpsons, they would watch TV shows in the Simpson house, and they would be just the weirdest shows.
I really like that big beefy arm coming out of the back of his neck there.
I just love how all we see is, like, it's the intro, and then he punches himself in the face, and then cut to commercial.
And Dipper and Seuss and Mabel are already all over it. That tiger's a hero! The fact that I just love the farther you get from reality, like, you're watching a show, and then the characters in that show are watching a show. So however weird the show you're watching is, the show that they're watching is another click, like, weirder.
So if they ever decide to, like, attend a play in Duck Detective, it's going to be, like, nothing of this world.
It's going to be completely absurd.
Oh, speaking of nothing of this world, we also get a reference to Twin Peaks that's rather surface level. It's just an aesthetic reference. But when Alex was pitching this show around, everyone kept saying, oh, so sort of like Twin Peaks. And Alex had no idea what that was. So he sat down and watched Twin Peaks just because he figured, okay, well, I'd better reference it on purpose instead of accidentally rip it off.
So we get the visual of the Red Room that Dale Cooper visits in his dream.
Or the Black Lodge, I believe is the proper title. I think the Red Room is a fan name.
Ah, yeah, I think you're right.
But Gideon doesn't dance around and talk backwards, or at least while we're looking at him.
Yeah, off-screen. Our theory is that off-screen
he's always
does.
doing it off-screen.
Yeah. Whenever Gideon's not
when we
dancing.
don't see him, that is what he's doing nonstop.
We were laughing so hard in, like, just the first minute of the episode because that Gideon commercial is so fantastic that it starts with, "Are you completely miserable?" Yes! Do you want to talk about, Charlie, you want to talk about the voice of that?
The voice of the commercial, as well as the voice later revealed to be Gideon's father, Bud Gleeful. I love the theme naming for the family. Giddy, Buddy.
They're so folksy. I love it. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's such a specific character. Like, from the postcard of Larry Larimore to the voice.
The late, great Larry Larimore, forever in our hearts.
So Stephen Root, who voices Bud Gleeful, is probably best known for playing Milton, the stapler guy in Office Space. But Mike Judge, who directed Office Space, also made a bunch of cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And...
The Beavis and the Butt-Head.
The Beavis and the Butt-Head, and also King of the Hill, in which Stephen Root voiced Bill Dauterive, Hank Hill's pathetic neighbor, and Buck Strickland, Hank Hill's boss. He's so good in this.
We've been at each other's throats for far too long. Let me get that. At each other's throats for far too long. Yes, we have. This is our big chance to brush aside our rivalry and pool our collective profit, you see.
I'm very glad that there's an experienced voice actor as a recurring role. I imagine that had nothing to do with Alex. Disney casting, thank you for that. I'm just assuming that was you.
Yeah, good call.
And also, through Gideon and Bud, we finally learned Stan's proper name.
His first name, yes, his full name, Stanford Pines.
Stanford Pines!
But what's his middle name? That's the mystery.
Oh, we gotta tune in. We gotta keep
We gotta watch the next episode. What if it's in the first frame?
But yeah, the B plot of Stan realizing that Gideon now has a connection with Mabel ends up striking a business deal with Bud Gleeful, and I love that all their interactions are perfect. It's a fantastic B-plot.
I would watch a talk show hosted by the two of them.
Yeah.
I would listen to a podcast hosted by the two of them where they go back and rewatch every episode of Ducktective and Tiger Fist.
This is the Ducktective Look Back podcast. I'm Buddy Gleeful here.
The Ducktective Look Back Tective.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm Stan Pines, yeah.
Ooh, fiction. Now we have a podcast in our podcast of the show within the show. Whoa!
You guys are going to have to keep that going. That's going to have to be a running theme.
Now we do. It's going to have to be another segment in the show.
And Stan is also a connoisseur of fine art.
He is. We have the genesis of a great meme in this episode when he sees a clown painting and remarks,
Oh, this is beautiful.
And I think the B-plot is necessary because this episode is definitely a tone shift into something a little like slower and darker and slightly more serious, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
You have in our notes, you have written the word atmosphere with 2 exclamation points.
Because it is, like, from that Black Lodge to, like, there's this warehouse where Gideon confronts Dipper and the lake at night and this fancy restaurant. There's so many, like, locations that are subtle and building up something, like, just sort of a little uncomfortable. And we don't even get any inkling of supernatural happenings for a while in this episode. I do want to circle back to the character of Deuce, who we meet in this episode.
Fan favorite.
Yeah, fan favorite Deuce is described as a bizarro version of Seuss that works at Gideon's place of business, the Tent of Telepathy.
I realized as I was watching, the Tent of Telepathy is presented as this alternative to the Mystery Shack, so I'm wondering, between our 2 podcasts, which one of us is the Mystery Shack, and which one is the Tent of Telepathy?
This podcast episode is the scenes in which Bud and Stan are hanging out.
And Stan are striking up a deal, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
why don't you guest
so
on
good.
my podcast, Stanford? That's fantastic. We do have the Mystery Shack in our name, but I also don't want to. I feel like that's the preferred choice.
We're disregarding names. We're looking purely at content.
Yes. Do you want to talk about some of your notes, Mary, before we get into like the big stuff?
Sure. First of all, I want to point out. I did point this out to you guys as we were watching. When Mabel walks into the room, Dipper's laying across a chair reading the journal. What does the journal say on the cover?
Oh yeah, it's got the wrong number on the cover.
It's number 2. How did he get that?
It's got a 2 instead of 3.
So that's an animation error. Not Ella's favorite animation error in the episode, though.
Oh, yes, here, Mary, I will now share with you my favorite animation error.
Please do.
So this is a background specifically from episode 4, Hand the Rocks to Mabel. And it is the shot right after Mabel gets the makeover with Gideon and it's actually right before that animation error with the journal. It's right before she walks into the house with the Wolverine nails. And I want you to look close at the photo that I just sent.
That says World Papov.
Yes, I believe that says World. I pronounce it World Papov, and when I noticed that, it drove me insane. I couldn't stop talking about it.
In every other establishing shot in the show, that sign says World Famous. No one even has any theories.
I have a theory. Because if you look at the backgrounds where it's correct, if someone who was
South Korean.
Yes, if someone who didn't read English was tracing that background, or if someone was just mindlessly tracing the background, I think you could form Papov out of it.
I just assumed it was code.
No, I tried. Believe me, I tried. I put it through every possible cipher.
That's weird.
Ella still has a cork board with several words resembling Papov and articles where that word shows up connected with red yarn.
You've got a playbill for Anastasia on Broadway because one of the characters' last names is Popov, which is close enough.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
That's one of the only things that came up when I Googled it. See right here, it's a little more muddled where like if you squint, you can kind of make out famous.
It's not spelled right, but I can.
I believe the V in Papov is where the U would have been.
Those 2 animation errors, both the brief appearance of Journal 2 and Ella's obsession with figuring out this
World
mystery.
Papov. Yeah.
I think transition us flawlessly.
That's right. Well, yes, contextually, we cut back to Gideon after he has been defeated in this episode, and he is kind of making some vague threats of revenge, and we're like, okay, buddy, yeah, sure. And then he closes a book that is revealed to be journal number 2 with a 6-fingered hand, much like Dipper's journal, except it has a 2 on it. What?
I think that's a good time to bring us over down here to the...
Oh, yeah, you want to follow... And Mary, if you'll follow us right down this door...
Okay, do I have to wear the blindfold, though? The whole time?
Yes,
I'm
you do.
gonna run
Yeah.
out of everything. Okay. Alright, I'll just feel the walls.
Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Conspiracy.
Here we are. This first fan speculation comes to us from Reddit. Let's see, Reddit user...
it's a bunch of letters.
r/JTBECNEL.
NEL.
And it says that, today I learned that Gideon traditionally means feller of the tree. Tree, pines.
Now is that feller like he who fells, or is that like
Or is it like a folksy?
feller of the
Yeah.
tree?
He is a feller.
It could be either one.
He is a feller.
He cuts down the tree, but then he also... So, he's just a feller.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Subtle setup that he's a bigger antagonist than maybe we think he is. And of course, so the cryptogram in this episode, in the end credits, translates to Carla, why won't you call me? Referring to the Carla mentioned in the Gideon commercial.
In the disclaimer.
Yes, the disclaimer. The bombshell that there is a Journal 2. We up to this point, we only knew that there was a journal with a number 3 on it. That could mean anything.
And that could have just been the author's favorite number.
Could have just been the author's name.
The author's name is spelt with a 3. It's his first initial. Or his or her or their.
It's like Prince.
It's a symbol, yeah. The question that it brought up in a lot of fans was, where is book 1? So gravityfallsconspiracies.tumblr.com gives us a lot of good archived expressions of theories at the time. One submitted on July 23rd, 2012 is that Grunkle Stan has book 1. Maybe.
That's pretty good. This one's good that there can be up to 6 books.
Yeah, because I was thinking as I was watching this, like, how do we know there are only 3? We know there are at least 3.
Although, no, I mean, there's a counter theory after this. But yes, keep saying about the 6 books.
The hand on the front cover has 6 fingers, and we know of 2 and 3 so far. So the 6 fingers representing how many books there are total.
But then someone else has pointed out that I think there are only 3 books, because when Dipper is telling Mabel about the book, he says, at one point the pages just stop, like the guy mysteriously disappeared. So presumably, we established Journal 3 as the final.
I also think it's a multiplication thing, because 1 times 2 times 3 is 6.
Yeah.
There you go.
Clearly, that's the answer.
Telling us to use some math.
I will not.
And also, this episode, the introduction of Gideon tells us, we study the character designs, and there's kind of an interesting theory that comes out. You want to talk about that one, Charlie?
Yeah.
Is it the one that Gideon's a ghost?
Well, there's a lot of theories about what Gideon is, but...
I don't think we're capable of knowing what he is.
Well, the journal has 6 fingers on the cover, which means that the number of fingers is going to be an important element in this series.
Because Gideon has 5, they have 4.
Yes, and other than Gideon, only the adult characters have 5 fingers.
5 fingers. And we don't really know why that is yet, but...
Wendy only has 4, right?
Yes, Wendy has 4.
She hasn't completed her metamorphosis yet.
Well, this theory says that gaining a finger is gaining knowledge, that your innocence is tied to your number of fingers. The person who knew too much and then disappeared had 6.
Yes.
We were never meant to have 6.
This theory says that I'm really wondering if the 6-fingered books, like which Dipper and Gideon own, are usually only owned by people with some special attribute. Gideon owned the magic amulet, where his powers came from. Dipper is Dipper. We might find out something about him later. Noting how the reporter guy, Toby determined, is left-handed, sticking out from the rest of the community, maybe he has a copy. Maybe. A lot of speculation on where the last journal is.
He's a robot. He's a robot. That's why he says Gideon so weird, because he was like short-circuiting.
Gideon.
This is also the second episode in which the villain of the day vows their return.
That's true.
So this person believes that the gnomes and little Gideon are going to return in the same episode to fight for Mabel's affections.
Ooh.
One person here believes that Gideon wasn't even interested in Mabel. He was interested in getting to Dipper to get the book.
Yes, because somehow he knew. I love this reveal. I think this reveal, a big part of the most of the theorizing was kickstarted by this reveal. And because I distinctly remember being at camp that summer and having like my first social experience with Gravity Falls, because I would like vaguely talked about it with some of my friends there. Nobody had really seen it. There had only been like 3 episodes so far, maybe only aired once at that point. Then I found someone who had seen it. And after this episode aired, I remember just kind of like walking around and we had both seen it, just being like, so Gideon's got the other book, huh? Gideon's got Journal 2. What do you think about that? Like, it was a very, like, moment of, like, we both experienced this thing that we are wondering about, and now it's creating a social situation, which was really new to me, and really an awesome feeling. Have someone to share the moment of shock and surprise with was awesome. And I remember like writing it down after I'd watched the episode, like Gideon has the second volume, like, oh my god, and not having anyone to like share that with. And then I did, and that felt like magic.
I think this is overall a very social show. I think I've met a lot of interesting people just from being able to talk about it. I'm still meeting people from this show, and I love that about it. And the most recent of which is you, Mary. And it has been a delight. It has been an absolute delight having you on. Such a gift.
Such a gift to have y'all here tonight.
Well, it's been such a gift to be here tonight.
So where do we find you, and where do we find Into the Falls?
Well, you can currently find me inside this burlap sack in your Hall of Mystery at the Mystery Shack. You guys haven't let me go yet.
All right, but after we anonymously leave you...
After you sedate me, wipe my memory, and leave me in the woods...
Yeah.
I'll find my way home. And you can find me on social media, if that's what you're referring to, at Mabel Page Pines on Twitter and Instagram. That's Mabel, Page Pines. I'm also at Film Knife on WordPress and Medium. That's my film blog where I post criticism and reviews and editorials and things of that ilk. I'm also May Page on YouTube. I formerly did makeup tutorials. Oh, I forgot to mention the show Twitter is at The Falls Cast, and we're also on YouTube as Into the Falls Podcast. I think that's just our name.
Please check out Into the Falls. Fantastic podcast. Perfect companion piece to Mystery Shack Lookback, I have to say.
If you were in the original Gravity Falls fandom and you have fan theories that you think would be interesting for us to see, we do want to see them. We actually want to read them. You can send those to us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com. Or if you're watching the show for the first time and want a community to discuss it with, we have a Discord server, which should be linked in the description. If you want to find more episodes of this podcast, go to our host network, pipedreampodcasts.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Vault Disney, How Did This Not Get Made, and Come On Fahookwapods.
Thanks to Pry Brian for making the instrumental for our theme song.
And for voicing Stan for the intro to the Hall of Conspiracies.
Correct.
And thank you to Simon the Dimbulb, v2-0.tumblr.com for making the instrumental for that.
And now you're going to hear a song that it has me in it. Take it, me. Take me back to the place I know with the Mystery Shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started. My heart's in Gravity Falls.
Hey, why isn't Gideon dancing around and speaking backwards?
He should be. Maybe he did that after Dipper left.
Oh, yeah, all night.
Yeah.
And then the crowd applauded at it.
Let's go. You like is going back in style. Oh my goodness. Thank you. You people are the real miracles.